Leeds United are set to face off against West Ham later on today or tomorrow, depending on if you're a channel member. But there's been a little bit of fear surrounding this particular situation because people saw the Burnley result didn't necessarily go in our direction and then got a bit scared. But I'm going to take us through exactly what we need to do, the secret, the ultimate formula that gets us to beat West Ham. Because I think there's a few little things that are in their underlying data and the statistics that we can look at, we can exploit, and ultimately take full advantage of. Before I do any of that, though, I'm going to run through what I think our starting lineup is going to be. I think we're going to start with Carl Darlow in net because, as Daniel Farke said, be a couple of weeks until Lucas Perry is ready in the long run. I don't hate Carl Darlow, but I think Lucas Perry would be my choice for that long-term goalkeeping option. With a right back of Jaden Bogle, of course, centre back of Joe Rodon, of course, left back of Gabby Goodmanson, of course, but as the other centre back I'm tempted to go with Biol, especially if Strauch is potentially a little bit ill. In front of that, if Ampadu is able to play, I'd lean towards Ampadu. If he's not, Stack has to take that 6 role with Tanaka and Longstaff in front. I think if Ampadu is fit, you probably just straight up drop Anton Stack for Tanaka coming in because that brings that little bit more dynamism in the passing areas. With Okafor starting out wide on the left if he is fit and available, Dan James doing so on the right. We know he's available because he played last weekend, and then Calvert-Lewin up top. Hopefully he's able to find his shooting boots. But then we got to get to the important bit, which is how exactly have West Ham been playing and how exactly can we deal with it? And let's be honest, we need to talk about the defending before anything else because they've conceded the most goals in the league. A vast amount, I believe it was 18 or something along those lines, with 13 and a bit XG, which makes them one of the worst XG conceders as well. However, those actual goals against are so vastly clear of the expected goals against because Hermansen and Areola have had fairly stinky starts to the season. They are both at least 1.5 goals below where they should be in terms of goals conceded, which means that they're sort of dropping clangers from time to time, which is a very, very nice sign for us. In addition to that, the way that they concede chances defensively is that they concede a hell of a lot of chances from dead balls. Their dead ball shots created against is the highest in the league, which means that they have a tendency to foul opposing players. That's a great time for the cat to wander in fairly dangerous areas, which means that ultimately they're going to concede free kicks in those scary spots. They're going to concede penalties, which are sort of free kicks in very, very scary spots. Thank you, Iris. You good? What do you think's going to happen? Leeds United win? Yeah. Go meow if Leeds United win. Or just sniff the microphone. That'll do it as well. But if we're able to make sure they are fouling in those dangerous areas, we'll have a good chance. This is why dropping Stack is maybe a bit of a risk, because he is sort of the set-piece guy at the minute. But Longstaff will, in theory, be able to take up a similar role. Has occasionally taken shots from free kicks, but it's not what we would ultimately want. But then again, you can't get every player on the pitch for every perfect circumstance. This is so distracting at this point. In addition to that, they have the second highest level of open play shot creating actions against them, which means that from just basic sort of passing situations, teams are able to just work their way through them with relative ease. They are pretty easily cut through with the defence being unstructured and a little bit broken. Now, we need to remember that all of this data is taken with the fact that for more than half of their matches this season so far, Graham Potter has been their manager. Graham Potter has now left, leaving, don't you dare step on the power button on my PC, that would be a problem. Leaving Nuno now in charge, but Nuno hasn't had the best of starts. I'll drop into that bit in a little bit more detail, but either way. One weird way that they are quite good at defending, though, is they haven't conceded any chances from defensive actions that the other team have taken. So pressing, for example, they've not conceded any shots from being pressed, which is very weird, and that's something that we're quite good at doing. So that weird little battle of them being press resistant, us being very, very pressy, is going to be quite fun to see. Or if we just sit off them a little bit more and say, no, okay, you give us the ball because we know that you're doing the press resistant thing. Be quite fun. Then attacking. They are the fourth worst team from open play when it comes to creating chances from just passing the ball around. However, they're the sixth best in take-ons, and they're not great at winning the ball in the press. To me, that says that the passing unit isn't necessarily working. The pressing unit isn't necessarily working. The way they are developing these opportunities is by individual talent. And you have a look through their first team, and I'm just going to read through what the sort of predicted lineup is. And you look in the attacking region of the pitch, and you've got Fernandez, who, yeah, he's pretty decent, but he's not the best of players. However, that's then followed by Paqueta, by Somerville, and by Bowen. And those are the players that will be taking on defenders and building opportunities for the rest of that line, with potentially Fulkrug being the guy that finishes the chances off. For me, that screams that West Ham's talent isn't in teamwork. West Ham's talent is the individual players taking the ball on, beating a man, and then there's a lot of space in front of them to work with. And that is ultimately what we need to focus on shutting down before anything else. On the ball as well, they're not great. Against both of the teams that Nuno has played against as manager, they've had less than 50% of the ball, 33% against Arsenal, and then 44% in their most recent match against Brentford, which says that we'll probably dominate possession, which is maybe not a good thing for us because we're best in those transitional moments. Ideally, we're able to force those transitions to happen, even if they don't have the ball at all. It's a very complex thing, but hopefully we can do it. It's what we sort of thrived in last season, and hopefully we thrive in again. However, this is a little bit of data that I quite like, a little bit of a statistic that I'm enjoying. West Ham haven't scored a single goal under Nuno Espirito Santo, which is very, very nice, in my opinion, and absolutely screams that they're a little bit blunt-edged at the moment. They don't know what they're doing. They've not sorted out that front line. So that helps us, just a touch. So when it comes to the list of things that we need to do in this match, how Leeds United actually won, the secret formula to getting 3 points. One, this one's sort of on the crowd. Elland Road needs to be bouncing. We know this. We know that when Elland Road is just at full whack, anything can happen. The comeback against Sunderland last season, the comeback against Leicester the season before that. If that stadium is behind the team, things can switch in a moment. But if that negativity kicks in, the players can be vastly affected by it. And that I would call a little bit of a problem. So fans, get behind the lads. That's all you got to do. And then enjoy the show, because ideally we focus on point 2 of this perfect recipe, which is make sure that we're shutting down those 3 threats. Admittedly, yeah, Bogle and Gudmundsson will be flying up the pitch because that's what they do. But that midfield 3 and the centre-backs need to stay switched on and make sure that Bowen and Somerville and Paqueta do not cause the threats that we know that they can. Because if we give them too much space and we show them too much respect, and let's be honest, this season so far, they've not earned that much respect. But if we show them too much, then we'll be in a little bit of trouble. So I think if we shut that down, that'd be perfect. We also need to make sure that we are testing the goalkeeper consistently. In terms of XG, they're not the worst. In terms of goals conceded, they are. And for me, that shows a little bit of a deficiency with the goalkeeper. So if we're able to just crack some shots off, force some mistakes to happen. In addition to that, 4 of our goals this season have come from shots that we have previously taken that have been parried or caught wrong, or something along those lines. We got to be taking shots, because that's how a lot of our goals have come. Make sure that we're challenging them in like those sort of wide areas as well, because if we're able to do that, then that's where they tend to make a few mistakes. Wan-Bissaka is alright, Diouf is alright, but they're not fantastic fullbacks. And if we are able to weigh onto them with Okafor and Gudmundsson on one side, and on the other, James and Bogle, that'd be absolutely spectacular, and I would love to see that. And also, hold the ball in and around the edge of their box, because they make some clumsy tackles, and we can take full advantage of that. In terms of a result, I'm going to go bold, I'm going to go ballsy, I'm going to go optimistic. I'm going to say that Leeds United win 3-0. Why not? We're due a decent outcome. And whilst we have been like ticking the points along a little bit, I think at some point we've got to return to the mean in terms of XG. And I think, why not? Why not have that happen at home against West Ham? That would be the absolute dream. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. That'd be lovely. Also, pop a like on the video, it would be massively appreciated, and because I've learned more things about the YouTube stuff, the more interaction that happens on these videos, the more YouTube seems to push them. So comment and like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, or become a channel member. You will have gotten this video like 12 hours early, which is lovely. But there we go. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo. Or I could miss the button. Toodaloo.